Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Props of the Week. And once again, you got me, King of Crackdown, with Pro Smoke Bets giving you our Props of the Week. This time, we have UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez, and we'll give you our Props of the Week. So this week, we got 4 Props of the Week. And let's get into them. So let me look at what we have here. So first one, we have Njokuani KO at plus 150 over Liao. Liao is coming off a knockout loss. Njokuani is a sharper striker than Salikov, longer, lankier, and also he does have a similar build and skill set to a man who has already beaten Liao twice in Sadabusi. From PFL, and I could see again with Liao coming off a first round knockout loss, going in with a sharp striker like Njokuani with that length and that frame, being able to put him out again. And Njokuani, we're not really seeing no submission, likely going to be a KO or decision, but liking the KO a lot more than the decision here. So that plus 150, we like that prop a lot right there. So that's the first prop of the week. Njokuani by KO at plus 150. Next one we have is Soriano decision at plus 300. What's it called? Let's see. Soriano versus his opponent.
Rahimaj.
Rami Rahimaj. Rahimaj, we have seen him out wrestled by Thimba Garimbo to a decision, pretty clear, thorough decision. And we have seen Soriano at this weight where he's not undersized, fighting at his proper weight. He's been able to wrestle guys to good success. And we have not really seen Rahimaj shown particularly great takedown defense at his weight class. And also, I feel like striking level is around the same level. And then one thing about Rahimaj, like he has shown durability, so he has shown the ability to go distance, and he has shown that durability. And you can say same for Serrano, but the main thing here is Serrano's wrestling seems to be clearly stronger here. Striking could even out, could kind of favor this way, favor that way. But Serrano should be the better wrestler here. And not too long ago, about a year or two ago, we saw Garimbo out wrestle Rahimaj pretty clearly. So for this fight, likely go to distance, especially if you were leaning Soriano. We're leaning Soriano. The fight's likely going to go distance because Garimbo has shown durability. We have seen him in fights get outstruck by Court McGee, seen him get outstruck by this other fighter named off. Not really thinking in my head, but it's been at least 2 or 3 fights where he's been thoroughly outstruck, take a lot of damage. But that one was a TKO. He got his ear got detached a little bit, so it was a TKO. But it was like he got dropped and knocked out or got hit to the body and curled up. So Rahimaj is tough. His striking may not be all that great, but he is tough. So we can expect to go the distance. Again, they're kind of similar, roughly speaking, between these 2 fighters. But again, I feel like Serrano is just a better overall fighter, better wins, and does have the wrestling upside. But Garimbo's toughness, not Garimbo, but Rahimaj's toughness will keep him in the fight. And likely turn into a scrappy fight that will be probably determined by the smaller margin, or the X factor, which will be the wrestling of Soriano. So plus 300, good value on that prop. And if Serrano wins, the most likely path to victory is the decision. So plus 300, that is a solid prop, in my opinion. Next one, we have Delia KO at plus 110. Spivak, we look at his losses. It's typically not too many decision losses. It's typically like TKO losses, against the Cyril Gons, the Aspinalls, and a couple of other losses. Like it's typically by stoppage. And Spivak and Delia, pretty much a prolific finisher, and I do think he's more dangerous fighter in the clinch. And I think he does have a good enough grappling to address the grappling of Spivak, and then be able to bully Spivak in the clinch against the cage, land shots, dig into him, maybe stop in first or second. But more than likely, it's going to be a TKO for Ante Delia, more so than some submission or decision. Again, Spivak has not shown great durability. The guy that's going to just get beat on for 15 minutes. It's either he's the hammer or he's the hammered. It's not like he's a nail. Like he gets put away. So, I feel like Delia, especially come off that loss where, he was so, he in his mind, he thought he beat Walter Cortez Acosta. And then the fight was brought back and he got stopped. I feel like he's going to be hungry to get right back, and especially saying that so much, what Walter Cortez Acosta has done at that time. So seeing what Walter Cortez Acosta has done, riding this momentum, like in that short time, he's gonna be hungry to get back on a winning streak and try to get a rematch for them. So I think he's going to try to start another streak up. And it's gonna start here with Spivak. So I think he can address the grappling, push Spivak in his cage, dig into him, and get him out of there first or second round. And more than likely, it's gonna be by TKO. So plus 110, not the greatest value, but it seems like a pretty likely outcome. A pretty likely outcome. So you're getting plus money at a pretty likely outcome. And then last, but certainly not least, but in definitely the most value for the props we have this week is Phil Rowe by submission at plus 1,100. Or you can say 1,100, whatever you want to say. But that's crazy value. Crazy value. Might say unlikely, but is it really? Is it really? Not really. Especially when you're trying to chase maximum value, it's not really that unlikely. Phil Rowe, we look at his one thing about Phil Rowe, he's been incredibly durable. I don't think he has been stopped in his UFC career. He's been with some good guys, been in some experienced guys, been in with the Magnies of the world, been in there with one of the hottest prospects in the weight class, Suyo Cole, win the distance with him. When they were with Jake Matthews, and Jake Matthews has stopped a lot of guys. So I went the distance. It was, a competitive enough scrap. So he's really losing to veterans. Then we see him fight like, let's say, similar position. You got an Orion Cozy, where I feel like Lesbizzani is kind of a similar frame. You got like a guy that's, really unproven, but had like a hype behind him, coming off a contender series. And then you go in there with Phil Rowe, kind of have a good little start. And then Phil Rowe shifts the narrative. Or Leon Shabazi, who was supposed to beat him on the contingency, these guys that are, have some hype behind them, but not really proof. And Levizzani is kind of like a firecracker. He comes out there, he gets things done quick for the most part, but he hasn't really had extensive experience though. This is his first UFC fight, and Phil Rowe has never been stopped in the UFC. He has solid BJJ, wrestling is weak, but solid striking, solid, solid chin, solid submission defense. So defensively, he's very sound, is what I'm saying. Like he's durable, he's defensively sound, he's technically sound in the grab. So it's hard to put him away. And again, he's been with guys that have been in the UFC for 10 plus years, and Jake Matthews was nowhere near finished. Neil Magny was nowhere near to finish it with a split decision. So again, even the guys that are experienced, I guess the person who dominated him the most probably was Suya Konko. But again, been with a lot of veterans, guys that Magny been in 13 plus years. Jake Matthews has been in 10 plus years. Jake Matthews has finished some solid guys that have been elite in PFL or elite in Bellator, been around the block. And again, he might not be elite himself so much, Phil Rowe, but he definitely does a good job excelling at beating these guys that, haven't really been to this level, haven't really shown themselves to be this level. And, he goes out there and shows them, there's a different level. You're not going to just run through me or like you think you are. You might have a good little first round. He rallies, and I can see, whenever a cardio becomes a question, you have a guy that has experience, durability, and does have a solid BJJ background like Phil Rowe, you could likely find a submission. I can see Levizzani fading in the fight, especially late, and Phil Rowe coming back, tagging him up. Maybe Levizzani shoots an ugly shot, gets tapped, gets caught, set up, tapped out. And I could definitely see that happen. So plus 1,100 against a fighter that's inexperienced, who is likely going to fade in this fight, trying to run through Phil Rowe like no one else has ever done, blowing his wad, and Phil Rowe still being there, pushing the pace, breaking him down, and then submitting him late in the fight. So plus 1,100, that's a crazy value. And again, a very likely outcome when you have a fighter that's lacking experience going over with a veteran who does have that submission, that grappling upside there, and experience upside, to be able to capitalize on a fading opponent with inexperience in the later rounds. So plus 1,100, pretty, great value and not too far-fetched at all. Definitely in the realm of reason. So how do you feel about those props, Prosmo?
As always, man, fireplace, man. Hey, how are we overlooking Chidi and Chikwani at plus 150 by knockout? It's impossible, man. This guy, Thai boxer with a background in the art of 8 limbs, right? Controlling the distance, has an untelegraphed strike sequence to pick apart his opponents and then finish them. At plus 150, that's cash, Moving to Punel Soriano over Brahimaj by decision at plus 300. I love it, man. He's got a base wrestling state champion in Hawaii. He has a judo brown belt, probably black belt by now. He's a what is he? Like a pressure fighting boxer. Has high output. He's a high output guy. I think for his weight class, he has one of the highest significant strike counts for ground and pound in his division. So at plus 300, you can't go wrong with Punel Soriano. The public's on Rami's Brahimaj as it is. And then Ante Delia by KO at plus 110. I mean, he's a swarmer, like you said, first round guy. And it's why he wouldn't get cut. Sergey Spivak's not getting cut, but Almeida is, because if you're not swarming someone, trying to approach them, grind them, bob and weave, like, uh, this guy, Ante Delia, using Cain Velasquez, bob and weave to get into range and get some combinations going, then you know what are you worth? So at knockout, I mean, that's really what you should bet. That's a great line. And then Phil Rowe by submission. I've seen Kevin Holland submit Tim Means at plus 1,100. So you're on the money. Let's get it.
Yep. So those have been the props of the week. So run through them real quick again. We got Njokuani KO at plus 150, Soriano decision at plus 300, Delia KO at plus 1,000. I mean, not 1,000, but plus 110. And last but not least, Rose sub at plus 1,100. So some crazy good props this week. Play your hands. And I think, we'll come out positive this week on these props. And I think these are some good props. Probably some of the best props. Matter of fact, this might be the best props of the year so far. And maybe even the later half of last year as well. So, follow them, trail them if you will. But again, got some great props here for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez. But yeah, as always, support me, support Pro Smo, support the channels, and IG, Twitter, wherever you see us. And that's been the video. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.